product targeting. So today we have a brand new PPC feature that we're going to be covering. This is something that's just been made available in Seller Central. On some accounts it's not yet available, but on most it is and still in the beta stage. I really urge you guys take advantage of this before the masses of sellers are also using this, because this can be the period in which you get ahead of the game. So if you're struggling with ACOS, you have a very high ad spend, or you're struggling to really get good placement with your ads, even though you're paying high bids, I think this is a good video to watch. So PPC by product targeting. We're going to talk about how to strategically place your product as an alternative or a substitute or a complementary item on high traffic listings. So the objective of this is to simply first of all explain what product targeting PPC is to you, and also then give you step-by-step instructions on exactly how you can go ahead now, today, and create your first product targeting campaign. So to briefly summarize the goal and difference of this to traditional PPC, the goal here is to place your listing in the sponsored products related to this item section on other high traffic listings, whether they have a lot of traffic because they're sponsoring their listing or because they're organically placed very high in the search results. You can now start selecting specific products, that's ASINs, or specific brands, so groups of listings, or even categories of products, and specify which products in that category you want to target. But in either case, you're targeting specific listings here in order to be placed on those listings as a sponsored listing and hopefully gain more traffic that way and more sales. The big difference there being that here we're targeting specific ASINs, brands and categories, rather than with traditional PPC where of course we're targeting specific keywords. So what is product targeting? Product targeting allows you to target other listings on Amazon that you wish to advertise your product on. It requires you to select those individual products, brands, or categories to target these ads toward. You choose these rather than keywords with traditional PPC. You guys can see here is the sponsored products related to this item section. And this is what we're talking about. So when you run ads through this method, this is where you're going to show up. And this is often found below your frequently bought together section on whichever listing you're on. And just to show you this in more detail, you can see we're on a normal listing here. And as we scroll down, we have the frequently bought together, and then this section, sponsored products related to this item. So when you're sponsoring your product, when you're paying for ads on your product using product targeting, the more you're paying, the higher up on this list you will show. So this would be position 1, position 2, and so on. And then you would click to the next page. It's highly advisable, at least for now, while this is lesser known, try and be in one of these top 3 positions. These will be the most clicked, and obviously this first line is definitely the most important. You're going to get much more traffic, as it's really convenient to click here rather than have to scroll through all of these results. So you are aiming for these top few over here. So ways to advertise. I just wanted to go over one, keyword targeting, and then product targeting. And the simple reason being I want to show you the difference between the two, because some people are getting very confused between these. With keyword targeting, we're running ads for specific keywords. We populate as a top sponsored search result, and we pay per click that we gain from customers. We then convert those visitors into buyers. We target keywords manually or automatically. With product targeting, on the other hand, which we focus on today, we're running ads for specific products. This is also selected by ASIN, or brands or categories of those products. And we populate on those listings in the sponsored products related to this item section. we move traffic from those high traffic listings to our own, and then we convert those visitors into buyers. We target manually in this case. Another difference in the way you can advertise is either doing this in an automatic fashion or a manual fashion. So with automatic targeting, you do not manually input keywords, ASINs, brands, or categories. For keywords targeting, Amazon shows your ad based on the keywords already on your listing and shopper searches that are linked to that product info. So that's very important when creating your listings. Again, in automatic, when you're doing product targeting, this is actually something that occurs by default. And this is why very often you will see your product showing up in that sponsored products related to this item, even though you haven't gone and set up a manual campaign specifically for that. So it's not selectable, but it does occur by default with automatic. And Amazon shows your ad on products that line up with your product as either a similar product, a complementary product, or a substitutory product. On the other hand, with manual targeting, which we focus on today, you input the keywords, ASINs, brands, or categories that you want to target. For keywords targeting, Amazon then shows your ad based on the keywords you've chosen. So you could have chosen to run an exact match campaign, and then your ad is shown for the exact term or phrase you input. You could choose phrase match, and then your ad is shown for the string of keywords that you input, but it could be in any different order of those keywords. And lastly, broad match, where it's much broader. So you're shown for keywords, keyword variations, and misspells of those keywords. For product targeting, our focus today, Amazon shows your ad on the exact ASINs that you choose, the brand of products that you choose, or the category of products that you choose to input. Product targeting places your listing on other listings in that sponsored products related to this item section. But you can choose which of these listings to place your listing on. And you can do this in various ways. I'm going to explain each way you can target this and then give you an example of why I think that may be a good strategy. First of all, you could target those listings by brands. So you could choose a great endoscope brand that you want to target because their listings have a lot of traffic and you feel you could gain traffic off of those. An example of how this would work really well is actually shown by this image at the top here with a headline search ad. If you find a specific brand doing a lot of headline search ads and really promoting their brand as a whole, that could be a good advantage to you. You're not paying all the headline search ads, but you're able to get onto their listings in that placement and that way leverage the traffic that they're paying for. Secondly, you can also target by category. And I think this one is very important as well, based on the fact that Amazon is really pushing this way of searching toward customers. You can see in the second image that we have here that Amazon is now actually using some of the spots on the results pages for certain keywords. They're filling that slot up with a shop by category little advert almost. It's basically promoting the use of categories for searching that type of product. So in this example, you can see there microscopes and borescopes and lab scopes. They're promoting that way of searching to customers. So if you find that a specific category there is gaining a lot of traffic, that could be something to look into and place your listing on all the listings within that category. What I would say is that this definitely needs more specificity. In other words, you can't just say this whole category. You need to go in there and then adjust things. We're going to get more into that, how you can adjust by choosing which review counts of listings to place your product on. You can choose the price range in which you want to place your product on. So there are these other parameters you can input because category is obviously quite broad. And lastly, and most importantly, in my opinion, this is my favorite one, you can choose the exact products or ASINs that you want to run your product on. So you might know of 10 extremely strong competitors in your market who have a lot of traffic and who you want to sponsor your product on. That said, there's a ton of factors that play into this being a potential listing for you to advertise on. I'll give you an example of where it's not your direct competitor. So in some cases, you might want to show up on the listing as an accessory item. So in some cases, you might be, for example, if we carry on with our example, let's say you sell a smartphone holder for endoscopes. Well, you're not actually selling the endoscope, but you're selling an item that goes very well with endoscopes. Your accessory item would sell really well as a frequently bought together, but you're not in the frequently bought together on those listings. But what you can now do is pay to be just below that frequently bought together section. So now on those high potential listings for you, because you know this is a complementary item to this high traffic listing of good endoscopes, you place your product on there and can use the traffic source they have to generate more sales, because you're very targeted and you're something people would look to buy with that product. So that's an example of non-direct competition, of using the strategy with accessory items. On the flip side, you could do it with direct competitors. So maybe you find there are some really solid organic listings, but they have 4-star reviews, so there are things wrong with them. So you want to target those listings because you know there's high traffic there because they've got the high organic ranking. But when people are on that listing, they read the reviews and realize the problems they're in, and then they look for alternatives immediately. And you can be placed in that sponsored products related. And so in this way, you're gaining traffic off of their listing and hopefully converting sales. So why would you deploy this strategy? Well, number one, you can get around extremely high bid domain keywords and lessen your ACOS. I think specifically now at the beginning, the intro of this new feature, if you use this, you should be able to retain a certain amount of sales while bringing down your cost on some of the main keywords. But you are going to need to target effectively, as we just discussed. You can catch buyers further along in the decision-making process, and I think this is key. You thereby gain an overall better cost per click. And what we mean by further along in the decision-making process is that you're actually avoiding a lot of wasted clicks for misspells or people just clicking out of curiosity on the main keywords page. So in this case, you have a buyer who's further along in that decision. They have firstly typed in a keyword, found the results page, and then clicked into a listing, and then scrolled around and looked at the sponsored products related to this item section. That person is much closer to buying a product than someone who's just scrolling along the results pages and maybe clicking out of curiosity or gathering more information or comparing prices. The person who's on a listing and clicks through to a frequently bought together or a sponsored substitute product is more likely to actually purchase because they're getting closer to the end of their search. They're closer to narrowing down to their choice. So in theory, this should give you a better cost per click. Obviously, all of this is still being tested. It's very, very new. You might not have as many clicks as the main page. In fact, you will not. But for every click, your conversion should be higher. Of course, you leverage the position that your competitors are paying for. So if the main keyword bids are extremely high and you're tired of paying for that and you just can't get the ACOS down, then why not allow them to run the ads there and then you focus in on being number one in the sponsored product section on all of those listings. Leverage the organic position of your competitors. So this goes down to the established listings who've been there for 8 years with 3,000 reviews. That's very difficult to beat out a lot of the time, depending on the market you're in. But you can now place yourself on those high traffic listings. Strategically place your product as an alternative to certain direct competitors, a substitute to direct competitors, or variations of your product, and complementary offering on those listings. And those would be accessory to listings like we discussed earlier. So how to set up a product targeting ad. You're going to go to Seller Central, click Advertising drop down at the top, click Campaign Manager, create campaign, and hit Continue on the Sponsored Products block. Type in a campaign name at the top. This is quite important. Most people skip over this. Name it as per your product, the type of campaign you're running, and the date. So you remember when you started running this and what it's exactly for. Select a start and end date if applicable. I generally don't do this because I'm checking very regularly. Set your daily budget to between $15 and $50. You do want this to be high enough to run enough for you to gain back good data. Select manual targeting. So you'll notice unless you choose manual targeting, the product targeting option will not appear. You have to choose manual targeting for that option to drop down below. Input a ad group name. This can be very similar to the top, but you can call it number 1, for example. Select the product that you wish to advertise from the drop down that you see here, and then click Add to place that onto the advert. Choose product targeting beneath targeting in this next block over here, and this will only appear if you choose manual targeting above. Notice how you can target specific products here by either categories or by individual products. For our example now, we're going to use individual products, but I will skim over categories toward the end of this video as well. Notice how you can choose the specific products under individual products by either looking at the suggestions from Amazon, search by inputting certain product names, or enter a list of ASINs that you collect off of Amazon. Here we're going to choose to enter a list of ASINs that we choose. So if you go to Amazon as a buyer now and input your main keyword, remember that if it's for competitor listings, in other words, your direct competitors, then you would use your main product's keywords. On the flip side, if you're doing an accessory to product, a complementary item, then of course you're going to go look for the main keywords of the item you're being an accessory to, if that makes sense. Once you have found those high traffic listings that you would like to sponsor yourself on, what you're going to do is look for the ASIN of that product. And you can find that very easily in the top URL, in the top bar, and just pull that out. As you can see in this image here, it will always start with B0. Or you can of course find that ASIN on the listings under product information. And when narrowing down and selecting those specific ASINs to pull into this list, you want to look at your top established competitors. You want to look at your top sponsored listings. Because remember, it doesn't matter whether they're sponsored or organic. The ones at the top of the search results pages are going to have the most traffic, and that's where you want to place yourself. On each, you'll grab that ASIN. Now enter the ASINs into our enter list area on product targeting and click Targets. Now examine the suggested bid for each product and place your bid 1 cent to 50 cents higher in order to start. You can do it between this range. You could even go above this, but I would recommend going higher than the suggested bid because most sellers are going to go with the suggested bid. So as long as you're a little above that, you're going to be able to just outperform them and gain a better placement in that sponsored products section on those listings. Remember, the more you bid, the closer up to the top of that list in sponsored products related to this item you will show. So the person who bids the most is going to be in number 1. Second will be number 2, and so on. If you don't bid enough, you might actually be on the second line of that sponsored products related to this item for that listing, and then you're not going to get a lot of traffic. So it is important, go check those listings, see where you're showing up in that area. Here you can choose to exclude specific brands and products if applicable. It's probably not that applicable for most situations, but it could be, for example, if you're going with categories and there's a specific brand that you really don't want to show your listing on, and then you are done and you can click on launch campaign to launch your very first product targeting PPC campaign. So this next section is not to confuse you, but I just wanted to touch on categories instead of individual products. So the same exact process, but we're going to choose to target categories instead of individual products and selecting those ASINs individually. Here, note that again you will get suggestions from Amazon based on your category. You can also choose and search for a specific category if you know where you want to place this listing. I would take note of the fact that Amazon is promoting certain shop by category sections in the results page. If I were you and using this strategy, I would go look at which categories Amazon's promoting for my main keywords in these results pages. So where you see the shop by category, which ones are there? Which ones are most popular? Which ones are most related to your product? So in our example, we might actually choose to go with boroscopes because that's very related to the product we were doing. So in that case, that's what we would choose to target as our category. Then you can see as soon as a buyer, if we think as a customer here, when they click on boroscopes, then that main keyword is transferred into searching just within boroscopes. And so the results become far more targeted. And as they become more targeted, keep in mind that now your ad, your placement in that sponsored products related to this item is going to be on most of those listings within this little niche category that you've chosen. With categories though, we touched on the need to actually narrow down within those because they can be very broad. So the first thing is that you can actually narrow down by brands. So yes, we've chosen boroscopes, but we don't want to be on all brands within boroscopes. We want to choose the very best brands because we know they have the most traffic, for example. You can see in this top image where you can actually tick off specific brands within this category. Next, you can also choose the price range. So maybe the item that you're selling is a premium priced item, and so you're only looking for the premium priced customers and therefore the premium priced offerings. So you could choose to place this range a little bit higher and target in on only those customers willing to pay for that higher quality item. Then you can also select a review star rating of the listings you want to show the ad on. So although we've chosen the category and the brand and the price range, out of all of those, and those are already narrowed down, we're only going to show our ad on specific listings that have a specific review star rating. And we might choose to do 3 and 4 star because we're directly competing with the products we're sponsoring on. And so in order to be a really good substitute and get a lot of clicks and be a really good alternative item to the product, we want the product, the original listing, to have problems. If that original listing has problems with 3 and 4 star reviews, we might be able to convert way more buyers. And so it's worth paying for the clicks in that sponsored products related to this item section. And so you can play with this, you can move these around and see what works for you. But I did want to also run through the category section, although I do believe the individual product section is the most valuable. That's almost like your exact match keyword campaign if we were to compare it. So this was product targeting PPC. I hope you guys learned a lot about this today. If you have more questions, hit me up in the comments below and let's go through those and let me know what you think about this. How are you advertising? What do you think about this new strategy and how are you employing it in your business? If you enjoyed this session, got value from it, please subscribe below, hit that notification bell. I hope you're having an excellent Q4, making very good sales numbers. Let me know what you think of this new strategy in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.